Hi everybody, it's Diana with Stamping with Di. Welcome to my YouTube channel and this week's Teach Me Tuesdays, episode 294. And we're going to have fun today. Well, we always have fun, but I am going to do some coloring tips. And I think that's one of the #1 requests I get from customers, my team, friends, family, you name it. Like, how do you color? So we're going to do that. Now, I show coloring a lot on my channel. I'll admit that because it's one of the funnest things I like to do. So, you could look back and learn, how to color. But I thought today I would just have fun with that. I'm not going to make any cards. I'm just going to have some fun. So I am just going to use the Valentine Kisses because I have these little cute bears on my desk and they're perfect to practice on. They're a good size. They're a nice open image and they're just stinking adorable. So that's what I'm going to use. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Diana, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm in Santan Valley, Arizona, so welcome. So that's what we're going to do. So during the video premiere, I'll be in the chat room, so if you have any questions or comments, head on over there. I'll be there with my friends. If you are watching the replay and you have a question or comment, leave it below, and then YouTube lets me know when I can reach out to you. All right, before we get started, I want to show you, I think I showed you some of these things I got when I went home to Canada a couple years ago. My sister took me to Julia, I'm reading it because I always get her name wrong, which is so bad. Julia Hansford, and she has a studio in Sparta, Ontario. And she does the most fun things. And I have a bunch of stuff around the house, but I wanted to, because I think I've showed you the cute little bees, but she had a sale and my sister went and picked me up some things and I got them for Christmas. Now, she sent me this packet. It took almost a month to come from Canada. Oh, it was craziness, but it got here. So I think I did show you these two. Now, these are the cute little bees I picked up when I went home a couple years ago. And so I don't know if you would call it a trademark, but most of the stuff she does has like a big eye. Like there's one big eye, she just has, I just love her taste. But all the little details that she does, I mean, it's just so cute. Her painting, you think I can color. Oh my gosh. So Jackie got me a t-shirt. It's in the laundry. I would show you that. But I think I had it on the other day on one of my videos. And a couple other things. But look what else she picked up for me. I don't know if you noticed this behind me the other day. So I put it up here. And it's 11/11. You know me with my 11/11. It's like a special time for Pop and Granny and our family. But so here's the little 11/11 and look how cute. So this is another thing she made and it is adorable. I mean, just the details and so fun. But anyway, so I just put it back here on the shelf. I moved a couple of my little girls out of the way so I have room for my little clock. And my little statue of David. And then I got a new pot and a new plant. So I don't know if you've heard of Whatnot, but oh my gosh, I'm getting a little plant crazy. So anyways, all right. So I just wanted to share that with you. In case you see that back there, you'll go, what is that? So now you know. But anyway, so she has a Facebook group so you can check out. But she is in Canada and she doesn't ship to the United States because I've asked several times. But if you are in Canada or if you go visit in Canada, make sure you check her out. So she also has a booth or something at the Western Fairgrounds in London. As well. So anyways, all right. So I'm going to stop blabbing. I get talking like I get out of whatever, my mind wanders. All right, so I'm gonna turn my camera so we can get started. So close your eyes just for a second while I do that. Okay, so like I said, I'm using the Valentine Kisses. And I think that's back in stock. It was gone for a while. All right, and what I've done is I have just kind of stamped a few and cut them out, because this way I can use a die if I want to. I can, do something else with them. But I just stamped with Memento. I also did some with watercolor paper, so I can do some watercoloring as well. So I'm just grabbing some colors like I did yesterday, and my camera doesn't really get down closer. I've got it down kind of as close. Let's see if I can go down a little bit more. Hang on. Okay, that's a little bit closer, so hopefully that will help a little bit. All right, especially when I'm just doing, this small area, that should be good. All right, now let's pretend I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to color this, whatchamacallit? Oh my gosh, Diana. I'm just going to color this like I'm leaving it flat on a piece of paper. So I can take my light gray granite and I'm going to put a shadow around and on the ground. And this just gives my little bear like you just kind of ground him on the ground so that he's not flying in the air. Now, obviously, if you do the one with the wings, they can be flying in the air. All right, now I'm going to choose to use different colors today, right? We're going to play with some different colors. We're going to play with colors that, you might never see a bear that color. All right, so this is just light, flirty, and dark bubble bath. And those look really cute together, just to give our little bear, kind of a pink snout. Now, these are the colors I used yesterday because I have them on my desk. But like I said, we're just going to play with some different colors. We're going to do some watercoloring. All right, so this is just 600. So if you have any questions and you're watching the video premiere, I'm in the chat room, like I said. So, ask away. All right. So I like to put down like a color. And then I go back and I can add, some other colors. So again, this is 600. 600 is one of my kind of go-to browns. All right, and then I'm just going to, because I kind of run around the edges so I don't get any that goes out, because sometimes my hand gets a little shaky. All right, so we're just going to fill that in. But like I said, it's just kind of wiggly, because he's a bear, he's a furry bear. All right, and then I'm going to take 300. And 300 is pretty dark. And I'm just going to go around the edge, because as it goes around the edge, it would be darker. And we'll put it here, because this paw here would be shadowing that one. Let me scoot this over a little bit. See if that helps you see. So then this arm would be showing a shadow as well as this one. Put a little shadow here. And we'll put a little shadow there above the nose, which kind of gives the impression that the nose is sticking out. And then we'll also put a little dark on the snout there. And I I don't know if it's because I'm right-handed or what, but I always seem to make the shadow on the left side. So that's why I put the shadow on the left side of the snout. Then I'm going to take 400, so it's a little bit lighter than the 300. The higher the number of the blends, when you use the tones, the lighter the color. All right, so I'm going right over top of that 300, and I went out a couple little spots, but that's okay. But I'm going right over top, and that's going to give me almost like a third color. It's kind of like when I use the reds. And so this goes right over top, and we come out a little bit. And you can tell I need to get a new, I don't mind them squeaking, but if they squeak and there's not a lot of color coming out, that means I need to get a new marker out, but hopefully it'll be okay for the rest of this. All right, so that was 400. So then I'm going to grab my 600 again, and we're just going to go over and into where those colors meet, and I'm not being very delicate about it, and that's just going to soften some of these lines up. Okay. And I'm just kind of, but I love how it just soaks into that paper, and it just gives you such a great color. It just gets it in there so well. But doesn't he look so cute? All right, so then I'm going to do, since he is furry, I'm going to take my 300, and we're going to do a couple little like curly hairlines as they come around, you know, because he would, you know, have some hair, and that just kind of almost makes it look, you know, a little motion like. I'm also going to do it with the 400. I'm not going to do it with the 600 because it won't really show that much, you know, because the bear is mostly colored with 600. And I'm just going to do a few here. And we also want a little gel pen. Let me get a gel pen. You know me, I love my gel pen to make sure it's good and working. And I'm just going to put a couple little dots here and there. And maybe even some little hair marks too. All right. So there's the first bear. And you can see where I went out a little bit. And we have something called a color lifter. And what you do is you take it and you just kind of push the color back. So I just kind of pushed it. There's a little bit here too. And just let it soak in. And then just like, I'm just pushing it back. All right, so that kind of takes it. You don't want to overdo the color lifter because it can get a little messy, to be honest, but it's just, you know, but now you don't see that line as much. All right, but isn't he cute? So there's the first little bear. So let me grab this one. So let's do the girl, and I'll just go back and forth with, you know, with my bears. All right, well, I'm calling it the girl, but it could be the boy. All right, so I'm going to do some different colors. So we have light flirty. I picked a couple petals. I'm going to have the bear be gray, so I have dark smoky. What else did I pick here? Gray granite, dark gray granite, light gray granite, dark balmy, light balmy, dark granny, and dark lemon lime twist. Now, I have not done any of these ahead of time. We're just kind of playing around. So we're just going to have some fun. Now what I have here is this is just one of our stamping blocks. And I'm just going to clean it of dust because I haven't used it in a while. All right, just clean the dust off it. And all I did was I typed shadow block, you know, on a piece of paper. I cut it out and I stuck it back there just to remind me what it is, but it also allows me to see the color on the block better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this kind of like a, oh my gosh, like a paint palette. So I'm going to take my dark Balmy and we're going to see, and I might do my light azure because what I'm doing is I'm making a color. I'm going to do my light azure instead because this is really going to be like a lot lighter. So you kind of want a darker color. All right, now I have another color lifter, but I have shadow written on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm kind of going to use this like a blending pen, you know, a blender pen. So I have my, you know, my brush side. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pick this up. And then we're going to move it over. And we're going to color on this side. And it's just going to give me that shadow. But it's a little softer than if I just use the marker, right? And it might be soon for me to get a new color lifter. But see, it's just going to add a softer look, but it's a darker blue than if I used Pool Party, right? Because if I used Pool Party as, not Pool Party, if I used Light Balmy where I just drug the marker, so it's like a harder line. This is a softer line. Okay? All right. And now this dries on here. So then I'll have to clean it off with like alcohol wipe or whatever because, you know, it's on there now. That's why you use the color lifter, you know, to, you know, to use it. But anyways, all right. So then we have, I also want to put a little, now I'm going to make my grass be a little bit darker under the feet. So I'm just going to use my dark Granny that has seen better days and my dark Lemon Lime. And that's just going to give, you know, because we're just playing, but it's going to give the bear, you know, just a little something to walk on. You can also, let's put some grass here and there. So I'm just drawing some little lines. And we'll do the same thing with the Granny. So now we've got a little something going on. And then I can take my crumb. Where's my dark crumb? My poor blends that I flick all the time. That brush side is so beat up. All right, then I'm going to take a little crumb. And we'll just put a little crumb on the bottom so that there's like dirt there as well. All right, so let's get to our cute little bear. All right, so we have light flirty this time. And then I have dark petal. And that's pretty good. So it's just, it gives it the snout just a little bit different color to it. And then we're going to take our light gray granite. So just like I did with the 600, We're going to take our light gray granite and we're going to lay down a base color, almost like a primer. And then up that little ear that it's so small, I'll turn it over. But usually I use the smaller tip. But all right, and then I have my dark smoky, so very similar to how we did the brown bear. We're coming over and we're putting some shadow. So just kind of like, you know, if you're not sure, I always say, you know, put something on your desk, put a light bulb, you know, off to the side, and then just look. Because it doesn't have to be a bear. It just has to be something that you can look at. Oh, well, when the light hits it on this side, it puts a shadow over there. So just kind of study how that, you know, how that looks. And it's fun. I love to sit in color. All right, then I'm going to take my dark gray granite, and we're going to do very similar like I did with the brown bear. We're going right over top of that dark smoky, just to soften it a little bit. Put a little there. Okay. But she looks cute even if you didn't get rid of the lines, right? Because she's kind of cartoonish, and if you ever look at a cartoon, their lines are very, very strong. You know? They're like very, very like strong. They're not blended out. All right. So now I'm going to go back in with my light gray granite. And we're just going to soften some of those lines just like I did before. So I'm just kind of tapping it in. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's a furry bear. Tap, tap, tap. Cute as ever. All right. Now let's do the same thing. We're going to take our dark smoky slate and I'm trying to make them to be more like squigglies. I mean, we'll put some lines, but I also want to have it be, I don't want to make it look like she has freckles. And what I love about the blends is if you mess up, it is so easy to just go in there and go, nope, I don't want that. All right, so I'm just going to go in and I'm going to add just a little bit more where it's softened up too much. Just in those points, you know, where I want it to be a little bit darker. But it just looks like she's got kind of curly hair. Maybe she's got a perm. I think that's good. I don't want to mess with her too much. I don't want to make it look like she has mange. Did bears get mange? I don't know. All right. And I'm going to take my little gel pen. And put some little dots. So there's that bear. So she's colored, you know, with the same, you know, same markers, same, you know, Stampin' Blends, just different colors. And they're so stinking cute. All right, so let's do another one with the blends, and then we'll do watercoloring. All right, so let's pull out Pecan Pie. Let's see. Let's do 200. Because we're going to do another brown bear. And let's see. I think that's good. That's good. All right. So we're going to go petal. So we have dark petal. And light petal. So the nose is going to be a little bit different than the other two. Okay. And I need my light pecan. And how bad have I messed this one up? Not too bad. I am going to flip it over though. So this is a different, you know, this is pecan. So it has a light and a dark. Let's see. I'm going to go in here with my shadow. And I'm going to do smoky slate this time. So I'm just going to use a different part of my block. So it's just a little, but like I said, I need to get another, this one's getting a little dry. So let's get another one out. Let's see here. Oh, much better. Yeah, it lets me move my color around. So I'm just going to toss that one in the garbage. There. And what's cool is if you aren't sure about your shadows, right? Because that's one thing that, you know, people go, I'm not sure what side, you know, whatever. No worries. You can do it all the way around if you want. You know? But I always say, at least put a shadow, because you don't necessarily, I mean, you see it, but you don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's there, but it's just, make sure I've got the light pecan, yeah. It just makes the image pop off the page. Oh, that's one thing I was going to do with the girl. Hold on a second. I'm going to take my dark Balmy, and I left her eyes. So I just want to put like a little, like eyeshadow on her. Okay, now she's done. I thought of that after I started to color you, because I was like, oh, his eyes. All right, so this is, again, so I'm like going all over the place with my talking. So this is light pecan. And I used to use, we have an ivory and a bronze. And before we got the tones, those were the two that I used all the time. And now that we have the tones, I don't use those that much. But you might have them in your stash, right? Because you might go, well, I don't have all the tones. But you can, basically, these techniques I'm showing you, you can do with, you know, any of the colors. All right, so there's the light pecan. Then I'm going to do 200. Now, how dark is 200? So 200 is fairly dark, but it looks really good with the pecan. So just like I did the other brown bear, we're going to put that little bit of 200. Now you could do the bronze with this as well. And then I always say the numbers. But when you look in the catalog, these, not this one, hang on, let me get my, here we go. When you order them, here's the order number, right? 158152. And then it'll say, I don't know, it'll say medium tone or whatever it says. But when I am coloring for you, I always say I'm using 200, 400, whatever. Because here it says SU Stampin' Up 200. So that's the number that I always just say to you. So if you go, what is 200, whatever. So anyways. And I used to have a chart on my blog that, because I have it over here. So when I'm doing my little recipe, it just says natural tones, and the price is different now. But so it just says 100 and 200, and then that's deep. Medium deep is 3, 4. So this kind of helps me, you know, with that. But I just say their numbers. All right. So again, I'm going off topic. I guess it's kind of on topic, but anyways. All right. So this is 200. With pecan pie, and we'll put a little bit under here. I don't want to go too much. All right, and then I have my dark pecan. So the 200 and the dark pecan, they are not tons different, you know, compared to some of the other ones. So this is going to be really cool and less noticeable maybe, you know, in the dark area than some of the other ones. Okay. Do a little snout. Sometimes I forget that. All right, and then we're just going to take the light pecan and blend out those colors. Again, I'm doing it wiggly. So he looks cute, right? All right, but I want to add a little bit dark because it did soften a little bit when I went in with the pecan. So then I'm just going to take my 200 and I'm just going to go in to the nooks and crannies and add a little bit more. And sometimes it's just almost like I'm tracing the stamped line, like the stamp line. So that looks a little darker. We'll put some of our little cute hair lines, fur lines, or whatever. Let's give this guy a little hairy chest. Maybe even like, can I do it on his cheeks? So he's almost got like a 5 o'clock shadow. Or is that like, that might make him look kind of weird. All right, that just makes him look a little funky. But anyway, so that just shows you pecan. So see, it's a little darker, but it's the same, you know, same technique. just different colors, but they're so cute. Oh my gosh. All right, so now I'm going to get out my watercolors. So I'm just going to clean up my blends a little bit. So now I'm going to do some watercoloring. You can, use the ink pad, and I've done that before, where you put the ink in there, add a little watercolor. But I picked up this paint palette thingy off of Amazon. I think I have it linked in my favorite things on my blog. These are just some stickers I stuck on it. And I have just squirted. Now I don't have all the colors in here because I haven't used, I don't always use certain colors. But what I do is, let's see, what is this? Poppy Parade. So I just kind of put like the names. It's nice and dusty. All right, so Sherry Cobbler. Then we have Real Red, Poppy Parade. So what I do is I just take my Poppy Parade and I give it a couple squirts. And then I just use this as a paint palette. So I will, add a little water to it, depending on what color I'm using. And then I use it as a paint palette. And then I just let it dry, right? Because the classic ink they are water-based, so they just kind of dry up. Like, these are, it's kind of dry. You just add water and it reactivates it. So, anyways, I also have where I cut my little silicone into 4, and I just set this on my desk so it kind of keeps the desk from getting wet. And then I just have like little makeup cotton sponges, and that kind of keeps my brush clean. I have a little thing of water here. Now the water painters are back. I just kind of have it in here. But I also have just regular paint brushes, and I think I have these in my store too. But they're all just different colors, different sizes and stuff like that. But so I'm just going to use like a paintbrush, I think, today. So I'm just going to get the ink on there. Okay, and we're just going to color. So this takes up some space, so I want to make sure you can see. All right, so I'm going to go, where's my water? So I just have some water in my little squirt doohickey. I use these for everything, right? I have Tombow glue, I have puff paint, I have alcohol in there. I use them for so many things. All right, so we have, this one is pecan pie, so I'm going to put a little water in my pecan pie. Let's see, what other colors do I want? My petal pink, my flirty. My azure. All right, so just let's play. All right, so we have, where was my petal? Over here. All right, so we're going to grab our petal pink, and I'm just grabbing it up here, and then I just use this, right, to see if it's too dark, if I need to add more water, and I'll just add a little bit more, and I can also add it over here too. All right, so we're just going to put a little petal on his snout. Now when you're watercoloring, it is important to let the colors dry before you add more. So I'm just going to let that sit a little bit. And you can use your heat gun. It's totally up to you, but you want to let that sit a little bit before you go in and add another color, or they just pull into each other. So I want my petal pink to be a little lighter on the side, so I'm just going to add some water to that petal pink that was already on my tray, so it's going to be a little lighter, and then I can go in and I can add that off to the side of his nose, and then it's just going to be a little bit softer. Now you can use your heat tool, which I probably could to speed things up, but we can also go like this. So anyways, all right. Okie dokie pokey. All right, so now let's do our pecan pie. Now, how dark is that pecan pie going to be? I think that is going to be really, really dark. That is super, super dark. So I'm just going to add a little water. And then I just wipe this tray clean. So this is kind of similar how you use the ink pad, right? You would do this in the lid, but I find that, you know, I might not waste as much. I don't know, but it just gives me more of a paint palette, and I don't have 20 ink pads sitting out. All right, so I'm just going to test over here, and it's still a little dark. Might be a little bit better. Yeah, that's better. So I'm just going to kind of knock off some of that water. All right, so we're going to come in here and we're going to color our bear. And very similar to how I did the blends, I'm going to put down a base. Of my pecan before I go in and add darkers. Now I picked, this brush is really like too big. Hang on, let me see what else I got over here. I might end up using my, whatchamacallit? Water painter. So I'm just coming in. And this is watercolor paper. I don't think I mentioned that. This is watercolor paper. When I did the blends, I did regular basic white, and I stamped with the memento. When I'm doing watercoloring, I'm using watercolor paper, and I used the Stays On. Okay, so Stays On is for watercoloring, not for the blends. You don't want to use Stays On with the blends because they will react to each other. They do not play well together. All right, so I just kind of put that, and that's not the right brush either. Let me get this out. I need to go put water in it. Oh wait, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to fill it up with this. Handy dandy. And then they go the opposite way. All right, so see, now I can just squeeze and clean. All right, I'm just going to go to do my water painter. All right, so I have put my layer of my pecan pie. Now I'm going to go into the same pecan pie, but it's darker. And this is dry because I was horsing around. All right, but now we can add the darker color, and it's going to stay dark. It's not going to pool into the lighter because the water is dried. But if it's still wet, it's just going to follow the water, and you're not going to get that two different colors with the same ink. Because this kind of shows you don't need all the colors in the book to get a couple different variations with the same color. All right. So I'll put that dark around the snout like I did before. And I just kind of blow on it. So while that's drying, let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. So we have water on our paint, our aqua painter, and we're just going to wet this. So if I add my pecan, that pecan, see, it just follows it. It follows the water trail. So see, it just went, which is kind of cool, right? I mean, you kind of like that look for certain things. But if you're trying to get, you know, your bear to look darker and lighter with the same color, you don't want it to do that, right? You want it to stay in its spot. All right, so now I'm just going in with that lighter pecan and knock down some of these lines a little bit because they're a little bit too much. I love that pecan. It's such a pretty brown. So that just kind of made those lines not be so stark. So it just kind of softened it a little bit. Okay. And then, as I blow on it, and that's when you want your heat gun. That's when you want to use your heat tool. And because it dries it like really fast. But I'm just going to go like this. Or if you have a fan. Do I have a fan? That would work too. But this kind of works. So if you don't want to make the cardstock be sopping wet, because then it takes even like longer for it to dry. So see, he looks kind of cute, doesn't he? All right. So let's see what other colors do I have in here, because I want it to be really dark in a couple spots. So I'm just going to go right into the pecan. We're going to add a little bit in the nooks and crannies. Like I did before, where I'm just basically almost like tracing that stamped line. But it's just going to add some darker brown. Just going to tap it in. So that looks kind of cute. All right. Now we can also add some curly, curly cues or whatever. So, and I've just basically done this bear with one color. His snout was petal pink, but I'm coloring the whole bear with just pecan. So I'm going to add some little hair thingies. So he's just a little rougher looking. But I can go in there and finish, some of those little spots. But watercoloring is fun. I kept it pretty simple. But he looks cute, right? He looks like totally different. All right, now I'm going to take, where is my azure? Right here. Here's azure. So I squeeze that off. So this gets nasty, right? And then I just pick up a new one. And then I just squeeze that ink off of there. All right, so my azure's over here. So it's really dark. Okay, so I'm going to use a paintbrush instead this time. I'm going to use a bigger paintbrush. And we're just getting some azure. And I'm just going to add a little shadow. Now you can do this before. I probably should have. I'm just being very careful that I don't brush up into the brown, but it gives it a different kind of look, right? Because you're able to have it be like darker. So it just gives it, you know, I can come in here with some darker azure. Almost looks like there's clouds or something. But it just kind of gives it a watery, colory look to it. Let's do some splatters. You know me and the splatters. That looks cute. All right, so let's put that aside and let's find the girl. Okay, so we'll do her with some different colors. Now I'm gonna do my azure with the girl first this time. So I'm just gonna go up and around. So it looks like the sky. Light and dark. Looks kind of nuts right now. But what's fun about doing it first, like if you do it like this, then you can cut this out later. You can use a die around there and make it look really cute. So what I'll probably do is, after I play with these, finish them and stuff, I might just make cards to show you, because this guy got a little cuckoo with the splatters, but he does look cute. And I will do some cards with them. All right, so we have lemon lime over here. So I'm going to do some lemon lime. On the ground. So now she's got like this ground that she's working on. And then I'll go into the lemon lime like directly, so it's going to be a lot darker. And add, because it would be dark along the where the sky and the grass meet. Like the further it goes, the darker it would be. So that looks kind of cool. All right, and then I can fix my sky later because I'm just kind of going quickly here. All right, so let's get a new one of these. And let's see what color I want to do my cute little bear. Let's see. I'm going to wipe this up for one thing. So I want to do her different. So I'm just going to wipe this up. Because I want to do maybe like, I want her to be like maybe like a unique kind of bear. So we're gonna take some, let's see, Cajun. How good is my Cajun right there? Because see, the water just reactivates it. So now we have this really intense red. So she's going to be like a reddish bear. And that is too dark. So I'm just going to add some water to that. But see how that follows it in there? That's better. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to do a cool little reddish bear. This is Cajun. And then I can soften that a little bit. But see, your brush holds so much paint that you don't have to keep going over and over and adding to it. So do your edge first because it'll be darker at the edge. And then as you work your way out, it'll be lighter so then it naturally, kind of does what you want it to do. Because her belly here would be a little bit lighter as it went to her belly. Okay. So you can see a little bit, that little green was a little bit wet right there. So that's why you want to make sure it's dry all the way. But I'm being a little bit too fast. So it bled a little bit. All right. I need to slow my roll. Blend that out a little bit. All right. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. All right. So she's got this Cajun going. And I want to get a little poppy parade. Because these colors look really cool together. But I want her to dry a little bit before I go and add this other color. So we'll just play around with our color till then. Let's see. So I think she's pretty dry. All right, so now I'm just going to go in with my poppy. And we're just going to add a little poppy. So now I'm mixing two colors. So I did Cajun and poppy. And they look really good together. And we'll just kind of blend it out a little bit. And then it's just, there's hardly any color on here. It's just more like the water coming out of it that I'm using it to, kind of spread my color around. But I like that really, really stark color on her. Now I want her to dry really good. Let me plug my heat gun in. Hold on a second. Ugh. But I love that red on her. But I want her to be good and dry. See, she's got a little bleeding under her behind because I wasn't patient. All right. That's better. All right. So I might have to fix that. Let's see if I can fix the, see if I can fix that. I might not be able to. Where's my, so that was my green. Let's see if I can add a little green in here. Make it not so noticeable, maybe. It's not quite as noticeable. Huh, you don't see it quite as bad. All right, so let's go back to our cute little bear. Then I'm going to come in to my Poppy Parade again. And add some deeper reds because now it's dry. And then since it's dry, it will stay where I want it to be. Where before, it was following that water. But I love the look of these two colors together. Okay, now I'm just going to give it a squeeze. So it takes the paint out, but then it's going to let me add a little water around where I just was and just kind of soften that just a little bit. But I think she looks really, really cute. Now she would have, it would be a little darker up here on her ear and around here. As it went around her head, it would be a little darker. So I'm adding a little Cajun and Poppy. So that just kind of made her head look a little better. Okay, so I want that dry. Let me give it a squirt with my heat gun. Because I got to add the ear hole, I got to add the snout, and then she's done. And I'm really liking the sky and the grass now, I think. I think that looks really, really cute. And you can just fussy cut her out, or maybe I'll have a die that's small enough. I don't know yet, because what I'll do is I will just, you know, work on some really cute little cards, and let me do the, what was that? Bubble bath. And when I do my die shorts on Friday, I'll share those with you. How about that? All right, so this is Bubble. Ooh, that doesn't look good. Hang on a minute. I don't want Bubble. I don't want Bubble. And I'm going through a lot of these little things today. All right. I'm going to go back into the petal. Yes, the petal's a little bit better. And then really dilute that. There, so the snout looks like that. And I want to do her little lip. So we definitely want it dry. But I'm loving how she turned out. That feels pretty good. All right, so I'm just going to take my water painter and strawberry slush. So I'm just going to go in here. So I don't think I have any water in my strawberry slush. If it is, it's very minuscule, tiny, whatever the word is. So I'm just using the paint from my brush. Let's see. I need a little bit more because I want her to have like, there we go. I want her to have like little lipstick on. Ooh, that's too dark, but that's okay. It'll soak in. All right, so this mess, so I'm just going to wipe all this up. All right, so let me show you. Let me wipe that up so I can close my lid. And I'll have this ink all over my hand. And I might play with some more, colors and stuff, with the rest. I stamped a bunch. I didn't know, but I don't want you here all day. You got better things to do than listen to me blab. But hopefully, hope you learned some new things. But see, this just folds up. And I just keep it on my desk. All right. And it doesn't, I don't seal it fully so that air can get in there. I don't know if the paint, because it's water-based, I don't think it would mold, but I don't seal it. Like, I mean, it kind of like props open a little bit so air can get in it. All right, so here are just the fun little things I colored today. So here's the little girl. These ones were watercolored, and I really probably made a mess of that one by splattering him. But hey, it is what it is. It does look kind of cool though. All right, and then these three were with the Stampin Blends. So it gives you, just some water. I hope I gave you some tips. Maybe you learned something new you didn't know. The watercoloring ones are with Stays On watercolor paper. The blends are with the Memento Tuxedo on basic white. So this is watercolor paper, Stays On. Basic white, Memento. These are the blends. This is a water painter. So hopefully, you'll learn something new. All right. So let me say, see you later, alligator. Yeah. So thank you so much for requesting me to show coloring. Hopefully, you learned something new. Learn something to do, not to do. But I do. I love to sit and color. I probably, like I said, I kind of wish I hadn't splattered that guy. Or I should have covered up my bear. So I just had the splatters there. But, it is what it is. He's still cute. All right. So I am going to stop blabbing. I might just sit and color some more. And then I'll have a few cards to share with you on a Friday for my Dies shorts. And that will be 3 o'clock, airs at a time, same channel. Have a great week, and I'll see you then. All right. Bye for now.